Oh my gosh, generational gap here. I'm talking to a bunch of
Millennials.
millennials. This is a terrible moment. This is a private joke for one. I'm thinking I'm so clever.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Talking to Earthlings with Lunakye, where we explore the humanism within all of us. We welcome our super badass guest, Isabelle Fox. She's the executive director of the nonprofit organization Mending Kids, a former Canadian actress and director, and a multilingual, globe-trotting single mother. Did I mention she also plays a kick-ass game of Scrabble? Isabelle, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm excited to have a platform to talk a little bit about what I'm passionate about.
So I know you're a little nervous, but don't be. Talking to Earthlings is just about connecting and having conversation. That's all we're doing. None of this exists. It's just us. We're just Earthlings. Namaste.
Asante.
So I have a few questions for you. Tell me about Mending Kids. What exactly does your organization do?
So Mending Kids is a nonprofit, as we know, that provides critical surgical care to kids in the United States and all over the world. And our goal is to just give children a healthy start at life in places where they may not have access to the care that they need. We're an organization that transforms the lives of the people who are part of this delivery of global health. So we transform the lives of the surgeons who actually deliver the surgeries. We transform the lives of the volunteers who take part in these missions. We transform the lives of the children who receive the surgeries. We transform the lives of the local surgeons and medical professionals who we provide exchanges of knowledge with.
Can you explain to me a little bit more about how that transformation happens?
I think it's a process of discovery that unfolds as you step out of your comfort zone to meet and intersect with the people that you are going to be spending an intense week with, either saving their lives or working to help them save their lives. Let's say you're the parent of a child who's dying and you've had very limited exposure to medical care, and somehow by some intersection of faith and luck, you find out that a mission's coming, and somehow your child gets on that list, and somehow you get to where you need to get. So there's the transformation of the belief that faith would help you out, and it has, right? And then you have this surgeon in a modern city with all the accesses, medical technology, and the advancements in science have at the touch of a hand in gleaming, sparkling hospitals for the most part, right? With touch button medicine. And all of a sudden that person decides to volunteer and come on one of our trips, and we literally cut the umbilical cord for all the safety net he's ever had. And we send him to a developing country to operate without that safety net. And so you basically have these people come in, they're nervous. We have to create this sort of cocoon of calm and efficiency and help them get through a surgery. And when they do, you can just see it in them. They're so excited. They're like, they rock it. It restores their faith in medicine.
What compelled you to get involved in Mending Kids in the first place?
I was at a fundraiser, and the auctioneer came up and said, we have a trip anywhere Mending Kids will go in the world. And I asked the question, I said, where are you going? And they said, oh, we're going to Ethiopia, we're going to Guatemala, El Salvador, China. And the minute they said China, I was like, what are you going to do in China? And they said, oh, we're going on a mission where we're going to operate on orphans to make them adoptable. And in that second, I was like, I got to be on that trip. And I kept my hand up until I won that trip. And then after I was like, oh shit, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? No, I know what I've done. I've just bought myself a kick-ass birthday gift, and I'm not going to have a big party. I'm not going to go to a spa. I'm going on a trip with a bunch of strangers that I don't know to go to an orphanage, because I'm finally going to understand what my daughter first few months might have been, because my daughter is from China and spent the first 10 months of her life in an orphanage. It was a nanosecond spark of, I have to do this. This is going to be another layer in me understanding her journey before she came to be a part of our family.
How important is she to you?
You're gonna make me cry. She's my life. I mean, I have a biological son. I love you, Jackson. But I since the time I was 11 years old, my dreams were not of a white picket fence, of movie stardom, of, you know, being Jacques Cousteau. It was, when I'm old enough and I can do this, I'm going to adopt a baby.
So you've always known you wanted to adopt?
Ask my husband, you know, on our second date, I said, FYI, you need to know this about me, deal breaker, we need to adopt. If this is gonna go to a third or fourth date.
Your husband?
Husband.
I've never heard that before.
Was my husband.
Husband. That's good.
He's a great husband, by the way.
Okay,
Great husband.
so you guys
He's
are
the
still
father
friends.
of our daughter, and yes,
Okay.
we're a very modern family.
So I read on the website mendingkids.org that Cris Embleton, I believe that's her name,
Yeah.
the story of her daughter passing at a very young age. Can you tell us a little about that?
So she was also adopting this young baby, and during the adoption process, so the baby had been matched to her. She was waiting for the baby to come to the United States, and the baby died. I believe it was heart disease, and she could have been treated, if she'd been treated, you know, within a certain window of time with antibiotics, this never would have happened. And that's the tragedy, right? It's like $5 can save a child's life at the right time if you recognize that the help needs to happen, right?
Yeah, you know, you're right. It is an absolute tragedy, but out of that tragedy came something so beautiful. Because without that happening, she may never have been inspired
Absolutely.
to start the organization, which has saved the lives of thousands of children.
Exactly. No, that, I mean, yes, that is it's the tragedy, but it's the spark that fueled her passion. She became a warrior. She would sit in the halls of hospitals, I think stalking, waiting for cardiac surgeons to come out and literally like grabbing them and saying, I need you to save this baby. And I think the relationship initially started with Ecuador, and they would literally work with an organization in Ecuador with these kids dying of heart disease, and they would get them one by one up to LA to get heart surgery. It's sad that it takes a tragedy to fuel that kind of passion, but the good that's come out of it is the legacy.
Why was she unable to get that medication if it was so inexpensive?
That's a very Western approach, right? $5 isn't expensive to us here in America. $5 can mean 2 or 3 days' salary anywhere else in the world. And so if you have a baby and the baby has a fever and that fever turns to strep, you need to treat that strep with antibiotics. So I don't have all the details of her death, but knowing that it's $5, I deduce that she probably had rheumatic heart disease of some sort, and that's what happens when you don't treat strep, by the way.
That's very profound, because that makes me realize I think of $5 as such a little amount of money, but that breaks me out of my bubble, because it reminds me that $5 to me is not the same as $5 to someone in an impoverished country.
$5 to you is a specialty coffee. $5 to Shalom's dad in Tanzania, he saved for 3 months. So this is a person, a working father, who saved for 3 months to have $10 to be able to get the bus fare to travel from his city to Dar es Salaam so that his son could have surgery. And by the way, he came to Dar es Salaam. The child received the procedure he needed. And then we're like, great, he's recovering. Okay, you can go now. Thank you. We're so happy, have a lovely future. He couldn't go. He didn't have the $10 to go home.
Wow.
We gave him the $10. We gave him a little more than $10.
How did you get involved with Mending Kids?
After I won this trip, I was about to leave on the surgical mission. And by the way, I had all my friends were like, you're crazy. You need to go to a spa to celebrate your birthday. I was like, no, I'm doing this. You're not going to know anyone. No, I'm doing this. You know, and I'm getting ready. And I go, and just before I leave, the photographer who was supposed to document the mission had a family emergency and couldn't go. And the admin at Mending Kids found out that my background was filmmaking. And they asked me if I would accept to be the volunteer documenter for the mission. I was like, great, now I'm gonna have a job, right? And so, a job, not a non-paying job, but a job. And so my husband bought me a great video camera so that I could go document the mission. And when I got to China, I just turned the camera on and started looking and filming and experiencing everything from my point of view, whether it was the cute baby that I wanted to hug, to unpacking medical supplies, to arriving, to clearing customs, to getting to know the doctors. I just kept the camera rolling. And somewhere around day 2, the surgeon very seriously said, "Well, Isabelle, you're going to come into the OR with me today." I'm like, "What?" Like, "You're going to come into the OR and you're going to document everything." I'm like, "What are you talking about? The only time I've ever been in the OR has been unconscious, and purposefully so." Nope. Scrubbed me up, put me the gown, the mask, the gloves. You know, at first I'm hyperventilating, I'm in an operating room, I'm watching all these people operate on this orphan from very, very far away, as far as I could be. And the next thing I know, he's like, "I need you to film this procedure." And the next thing I know, I'm on a case of some sort, towering over the surgical team, you know, isolated, and I'm taking photographs of, you know, dissecting parts of stuff. And by the end of the week, I was running the autoclave, which is a sterilizing machine, in Mandarin. So we were in China. Everything was in a Chinese character. And so I had a nurse teach me the order of the Chinese characters to run this hot steam thing that was going to sterilize the instruments. I took a photograph of all the steps. I made a little book out of it, and they'd hand me the instruments that had been ready, and I'd just have to put it in the machine, then I'd have to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever, close it, and sterilize away. I was so proud of myself. But at the same time, I was like, holy cow, this was so exciting. It was so exciting to have a sense of purpose. It was such a trip. So much better than a spa.
I don't know if you believe in fate, but do you believe that you were always meant to step into a role like this, or did this just fall into your lap?
That's a really good question. And I've asked myself that a lot, because a lot of things have fallen into my lap. Like, first time I ever got an acting role. I didn't work to act. I landed the lead part. Bam! What are you going to do with that now? So when I got this opportunity on this mission, I think that my life experiences, this collection of acting, directing, traveling, mothering, all kind of congealed to say, this is all this. This has given me the fodder I need to believe that I can go down this road. From the moment I raised my hand at that auction to the time that I got a whiff of what it was like to feel a sense of purpose, I desperately wanted to hold on to that feeling, because it was like oxygen. And every opportunity I had to either get myself on another mission was like getting another breath of oxygen that was just fueling a new opportunity to dream and make something of my life. And I can't tell you what a high that is. It's dramatic and anxiety-ridden, but when there's a success, even if it's one child or 30 kids on a mission, you go home and I'd hug my kids and I'd be like, I'm doing this for you guys. And that's really what keeps me going, is the potential that I discovered within myself, thanks to my life experiences that all kind of congealed to give me this sort of EQ, right? Because I don't have any medical background. Who the heck am I to be doing this? And I'm not delivering medical care. I'm coordinating, I'm producing the environment that delivers medical care. There's a complete difference to that. So my storytelling background, my guerrilla filmmaking background, my acting background, to get friggin' supplies through customs when you got like a guy at the customs office that doesn't even understand what catheterization supplies are, and you have to try and get the stuff through so the mission can unfold. I mean, that's really good acting. With the paperwork, of course, but still.
So my next question is, how do you find the children that you help?
So what happens usually is a partner organization or a doctor in an underserved country will either reach out to one of our surgeons or directly to us and request that we bring a mission to their country to help train it. Usually they'll make a case of they have congenital heart disease or congenital colorectal disease, or they have a lot of kids that have, you know, orthopedic problems, whatever that is. And so once that happens, we identify the surgeon within our network who's open to going to that country. And as the mission gets ready, the local doctors are the ones that present the cases, and they send those cases to us ahead of time, not to Mending Kids, but to the surgeon, and then we evaluate the ones that we can do safely, and that's how we get our kids.
Is the organization all donation-based, or do you guys receive grant money? Where does the funding for the program come from?
So it comes from a variety of sources. So it comes from donors. We have many donors that give us modest to larger amounts of money. We have some private foundations. We don't work with the government. We don't have any government grants. We do special sub-fundraisers or hikes or our gala. Those are basically our main sources of income. I write a lot of in-kind grants. And one of the reasons we were able to be mighty is because we work really hard to not have to pay for anything. So if I need to fix a heart, the actual equipment that I need to buy in terms of medical supplies will probably run about $2,500. Plus the volunteer services, plus the air travel, plus the, you know, medications. And so I don't want to have to spend that $2,500. So I'm going to go to big companies like Abbott or Johnson & Johnson or Edwards Life Science, and I'm going to apply for a grant. And I'm going to tell them, hey, we're going here, we're going to do this, we're going to save underserved kids. Will you donate this? And 9 times out of 10 they do. So I don't have to spend that money. It's a tap dance.
Earlier off camera, you referred to yourself as a Scrabble bitch.
What's your point? I have actually used Scrabble to get a surgeon to go on a mission because I beat him, I guess I shockingly beat him at a game in Mozambique, and I don't think he was used to losing Scrabble. And so I offered him a rematch, and I was setting up Mission Panama, and so I said, I'll give you a rematch in Panama if you go to Panama. And he beat me in Panama under duress because the team was leaving, so I was very distracted, so I couldn't play very good words. So he thinks he really won, but he didn't. And so then we were supposed to have a rematch in Mongolia, but then I didn't go to Mongolia. So
I love that. Scrabble bitch.
It's a term of endearment amongst my friends.
I'm adding it to my vocabulary. It's already done.
Thank you.
How many countries has Mending Kids reached?
Well, we've reached children from 66 countries, maybe give or take one. And as far as missions go, where we've actually traveled to go on missions, I think it's maybe 15 or 16 countries that we've gone to. China, Cambodia, Mongolia, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Tanzania, Mauritius.
Mauritius?
The island of Mauritius, which is in the Indian Ocean. They speak French there. They have a pretty robust cardiac program.
Sounds very exotic.
Nice place to go volunteer.
I think I read that it was in 2013 that you guys started helping kids internally.
It's a challenge, right? Because we have decent health care in the United States, but we have children who fall through the cracks. Why? Because they do have insurance, but let's say you're born with a disfiguring, like a hairy nevus on your face, which is basically a brown birthmark. Sometimes there's hair, and it's right there, like a big bullseye on your face. And kids are cruel, and kids are going to be cruel, and they're gonna make fun of you, and that's part of the hardships of our society, right? Everybody needs to be beautiful at all times. So the Hometown Mission helps kids who have certain conditions that have been denied by insurance for cosmetic reasons. And so we help them in an outpatient setting, and it's really about restoring self-esteem. And why do you want good self-esteem? Because you're gonna learn better in school if you have self-esteem.
Do you believe that life is innately cruel or has cruel aspects to it and always will?
100%.
That's just a part of life. Is that what?
It's a position where we're here sitting in our Western Hemisphere chaises, pondering the harshness, the harsh reality that a billion, I'm getting my numbers wrong, but a billion kids or a billion individuals suffer through every single day, walking like 5 kilometers to get water, you know? And so it's such a luxury to have running water, education, the time to think and ponder. And
Is life more cruel or is life more beautiful?
I think out of the cruelty rises beauty.
Can you elaborate? That's very interesting.
I think in between the space, in that air between the space, is where there's room to capture joy, to make it bearable.
That's fascinating.
I have no idea what the impact of what I just said is. I'm not advocating cruelty.
I don't think anyone believes you're advocating cruelty, by the way.
Oh, good. But yeah, life is cruel. Life is cruel. I mean, but that's from our perspective, right? And that's me passing some kind of societal judgment on less fortunate people, which is so wrong. But if I'm going to compare being able to get into my car and drive to the supermarket with someone who has a baby strapped to her back with a colorectal malformations and no colostomy bags to fix that baby, with a bundle of wood, and is going to go to her thatch roof and then leave that baby alone to go work in the field unsupervised, you know, I'll go, what a cruel life. But that woman loves her child. And the minute she has a chance to help that child, she'll take whatever friggin' resources she has and whatever stamina she has and whatever last breath she has to get that baby to someone who can help her baby.
Can you tell us an interesting story about a particularly memorable child that your organization served?
There was a little boy who came to us from another nonprofit. And by that I mean there was another nonprofit that was doing work in Uganda, and they discovered this boy who was dying of congenital heart disease, and he was in a rural village. And I got a message from their executive director asking if we could help. And I was like, well, we're not going to Uganda. But I looked at a map and I saw, wait a minute, Uganda's next to Tanzania. And then I was like, heart disease, we're going to have a mission in Tanzania in June. Maybe we can bring that boy from Uganda to Tanzania and we can fix him there. So I contacted our surgeon who was in Rome at the Vatican Hospital, and I said, Sasha, can we please help this kid? And he was like, he looked at the case, he said, yes, we can. And so Badru, his name was Badru, and I think he was 4 or 5 years old at the time, traveled, long trip with his mom. And he arrived at the mission and he was feverish, which is the worst case. You can't operate a child who's feverish. So all of a sudden we're like plying him with antibiotics, and if his fever is going to go down, then we can operate. So his fever's going down. Then they draw the blood. Then they find out that the blood is O negative, and the hospital doesn't have any O negative blood, so we can't do the surgery. And so I found out that I'm O negative. So I'm O negative, and I go, okay, I can give my blood. And Sasha's like, no. We do a drive. And so we go on the radio and we do a drive, and we get 2 units of blood that are O negative, which still isn't enough. And he goes, okay, we need your blood. And so I have them draw my blood so that we would have enough blood for Badru's surgery. And I said to myself, if this child makes it, I will put him through school. He lived. And so I now send him to school in Uganda.
Wow.
Yeah, he's memorable.
This is a question that's very pertinent to our state of affairs within our country, within our world. How have you or the organization been impacted by 2020?
We were impacted in that all our international programs, our overseas surgical missions programs, had to be grounded, and I knew like in March that we were going to have to do this, so I started sort of rescheduling them, or saying we're not going, and the doctors were like, what are you talking about? I say, we're not going. And I had all these medical supplies, and so we took all our medical supplies and we donated them to the Department of Health Services, Los Angeles, in their work with COVID prevention and protection with the homeless. And so we were one of the first nonprofits to go down to Dockweiler and give them medical supplies. I'm not talking a lot. And then I realized, wait, I have relationships with other pharmaceutical companies, and I started making phone calls, and we sort of became a boutique relief agency to help people locally, and started doing online symposiums that provide exchanges of knowledge with medical providers. So where we could go on a mission and maybe train 3 or 4 doctors and a half dozen nurses, we're training hundreds of doctors, giving them takeaway knowledge that will directly impact the life of a kid. Have we been impacted? Absolutely. But have there been silver linings? Yes.
What does it mean to be human?
I think it's the capacity that we have to dream, to be able to manifest those dreams, to be able to create choices for ourselves and act and react accordingly. I mean, I thought about that because, like what separates us from ants or bees? I mean, they have highly complex societies, but do they have compassion? Are they dreaming of better hives? Are they dreaming of better ant hills? I have no idea or perspective, right? So that's also the other thing is like, as humans, we have such profound and awesome egos, and we're so full of ourselves. But yeah, I think it's the capacity to dream, to manifest our dreams, and to build on them.
Isabelle Fox, I so appreciate you being here today. Your story is absolutely beautiful. You're doing so many amazing things for not just in the world, but more specifically for children, for communities. And it's very, very inspiring. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
What you do really resonates with the mission of TTE. So again, I can't thank you enough for being here and being a part of Talking to Earthlings.
I'm so grateful to have had a platform, and if it can inspire one person to go out today, tomorrow, and do something good for somebody else, yay.
I'm gonna kick your ass in Scrabble.
Dream on.
Hey guys, thanks for watching that episode. As a reminder, we've created Talking to Earthlings to have raw and honest conversation with one another in an effort to unite human beings who may not agree ideologically, but who can be inspired by one another's vulnerabilities. By watching our show, you are helping us accomplish our goal of changing the world, one conversation at a time. Make sure to follow us on socials to stay updated. Thanks.